Just to record. All right. Hey guys, this is JJ Andy from Crypto Grinders, and today we have a very special guest. Yeah, Ashley, the CEO of LiveTree Adapt is here. Say hi, everyone, Ashley.
Hey everyone.
All right. So of course, Ashley here is to represent LiveTree Adapt on the latest ICO that's about to launch or has already launched. Yeah, and
Yeah, we launched
yeah.
today.
Great. So we actually have a few questions that we have for Ashley today. But before that, Ashley, could you just tell us a little bit more about yourself, and why did you create
Yeah.
LiveTree with a co-founder?
Of course, yeah. So I will try and keep it brief so to not bore your listeners with my geeky background.
No worries.
Yeah. So I was born in London. I moved over to Seattle when I was quite young.
Wow.
I studied computer science out there
Mhm.
and worked for Microsoft. I was lucky enough to work with the makers of Winamp and had a really great experience with learning about freemium models and
Wow.
how the first MP3 player was ever developed.
Yep.
Moved back to the UK and started well, that's kind of where I got interested in crypto, actually. That was around 2000. I'm showing my age now. So it was around, it was around 2000. And, that was when eCash sort of acquired DigiCash. And that sort of triggered me to start thinking about how digital currencies could work. I mean, that was a centralized system. But, I moved over to Switzerland then, and we started a gaming company out there. And that got bought out over a number of years. Well, I was there for about 6-7 years trying to learn Swiss German very badly. And then, then moved back to the UK. I worked, that was around the financial crash. And
Right.
I got more into learning about the financial industry, and I wanted to see how the financial industry worked and why the crash really happened. So I started thinking about my background in artificial intelligence and matching that with regulatory control, so for compliance, and worked with all of major tier investment banks and really got an insight into how the global financial system works. And I'd been introduced to entertainment a number of years before, through various colleagues and friends and so on. And I thought, why not try and change the financial system to benefit creativity? And I chose the entertainment industry really for two reasons. The first being is that I believe that entertainment really is a powerful tool to help guide us and to help give us the values and the stories that enrich our lives.
Right.
And secondly, I saw that in particular filmmakers and TV content makers understood crowdfunding. They were used to crowdfunding. And so I looked at crowdfunding and I really liked that model because it was a way to, without any risk from a creator, except their time, obviously, to be able to realize a project. And I looked at the various models out there, and there's Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo, there's the big names. And I looked at what the problems are with those systems. And really the central problem is that as a creator, as a project creator, all of the marketing is left down to you. So that means, on Kickstarter, you're looking at paying like $20 per contributor. Indiegogo is around the same, and their fees are pretty high, from 5 to 20%. So you're getting a platform, but you're not really getting any kind of ecosystem.
Right.
So we thought about what's the best way to really get someone to know about a project, and what's the best way for someone to find out about a really great story.
Right.
And it turns out what we believe the best way is personal recommendation. So when your friend recommends a great film to you, or when your friend tells you about a story, you're much more likely to listen to them. You're much more likely to be interested in what they have to say. And in that way, we thought about, well, what if we incentivize that sharing of information? So instead of paying the likes of Google or Facebook advertising money, why not give it back to the fans who actually are helping to build this really great story or put this project together?
Right.
So we developed a system where, and this is an existing business. We've been around for 2 years now. We've captured about 5% of the UK market share. We're growing, and we're seeing a lot of success.
Right.
But one of the challenges we see was that content creators were getting funded, but they were not getting it actually into cinemas. They're not actually getting it onto your TV. So often these projects just seem to just taper off after they got funded. So that's really where we started looking at blockchain technology and how that could really help change the dynamic behind that content creation process. How could we disrupt the entertainment industry in a way to jumpstart and to empower the people behind the screen, the fans, you, to really take control of the story and choose the stars of tomorrow, to be in control, not the Hollywood execs, not the corporations. And that's kind of really where that brings me up to today, really.
Right. Wow. Okay. Great story. Yeah. Wasn't too long, so it was great. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna go with some questions. So you actually answered my first question. Why do we need a blockchain? Right? Why do we need LiveTree? Okay. So you mentioned that. And why the creative industry? You answered that too. Right. So perfect.
Okay.
So okay.
Well, blockchain. I think. I mean, we could probably go into more about that. I guess,
right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So why do you need to be on a blockchain? Yeah.
So the blockchain is a really revolutionary technology, and coming from a computer science background, I was examining what are the challenges for content creators, and what are the use cases for the blockchain. So it's really around 3 things that we chose the blockchain.
All right.
The first being that it provides a mechanism to store intellectual property. So this video, for instance, that you're watching right now, or we're recording right now, has intellectual property associated to it. You own the intellectual property for it. And it's being licensed through YouTube, and it's through an advertising model, and they're making some money out of this content, right? So the content itself is licensed, and there's a contract. In the case of YouTube, it's a digital contract. In the case of cinemas or in TV, your content is your IP, that thing that you've been working on with your directors, your writers, that whole crew, and you've been building up that IP, and then you write a contract, which then you sell to a particular distributor, whether it be on a per episode basis, or on a film basis, or for a jurisdiction, or worldwide rights, or whatever it may be.
Right.
Oh, it turns out the blockchain is a great storage mechanism for your digital rights, because one, it's immutable. It means that it cannot be changed, cannot be altered. It's open and transparent, and it means that it's not locked into a centralized system such as Apple or Google Fairplay or any of the centralized digital rights management systems.
Right.
But more importantly, the nice thing about it is that you can tie transactions to the blockchain. So that means that fans get to own the content as well. They can get to license it the same way that the distributors do. So that means we could extend our crowdfunding model to empower our fans to own what they watch, which is a really great benefit of using the blockchain. The second major benefit of the blockchain is something called smart contracts. So let's go back to your example where this video, for example, you want to go and get it onto TV. So you have to go and find a broadcaster, you have to find a sales agent, and then typically you'd have a piece of paper which you'd sign and then hand it over to them. Now that negotiation process can take from 3 months to a year in some cases, some projects. So it's very lengthy, it's very costly, and ultimately it limits both the sales agent and yourself, because there's only so much that you can do. There's only so much time you have, and there's only so many of these contracts you can get through. So by replacing those contracts, you not only save money, but we also increase the availability of your content, of this content, to be sold to multiple agents. So that helps them increase their sales, and it helps you get your content out.
Right.
So really looking at those two benefits. And the third and the most important benefit, this is the digital token. And you can really think about the digital token, which is called LiveTree Seed, as being a mechanism to take back those Hollywood dollars, to take back that control, and for you to be the person running the studio rather than, you know, the execs. So it was really those three key reasons that we chose the blockchain, and in particular something called Ethereum blockchain,
right,
to start the seed process and develop our token.
Okay, so you mentioned seed, right? And I think we could go to the seed question first. So what is the seed token for? You know, how can it be used when the project is launched? Then when LiveTree is live, what can it be used for? Just tell us a little bit more about the seed token and the buybacks.
Yeah, of course. So we can really think about this in terms of industries. So the seed token provides access to a $1 billion crowdfunding industry within film, TV, and content.
Right.
So specifically, we're going beyond crowdfunding. We're not just doing crowdfunding, we're also doing distribution. And that's never been seen before. So as the world's first platform to do crowdfunding and distribution, as a seed token holder, as a project goes through the platform, it's charged fees. And those fees are paid in seed. And now seed is created in a fixed quantity.
Right.
And because it's created in a fixed quantity, the more demand for seed, the higher its expected value. So the first part is funding, and we take a fee off there. Now, the important part here is that funding, our current fees in the industry, if you look at Kickstarter or Indiegogo, charge somewhere between 5 to 20%. Now that's huge, right?
That's huge.
And
that's huge.
Using those fees to 2.5%. So not only are we offering a more complete and end-to-end platform, but we're also cheaper. And we're cheaper because we also have other revenue streams.
Right.
So the other revenue streams that we have is on the distribution side. So we talked a little bit about smart contracts already, and again, fee charged on those smart contracts. So when you're distributing to cinemas, when you're distributing to TV agents, a small fee is charged, and that fee is converted into seed, which again creates demand and increases expected value. The third mechanism is the actual Blossom TV. So this is a really exciting distribution method, which I believe will really change how we interact and how we share, how we gamify the content we watch. And this is really about taking you as the fan and making you part of the story. So you get to decide the stars of the future. Wow. You get to decide the story. I mean, this has never been seen before. Again, this is something completely dynamic, which will create a completely new market.
Right.
And again, you can think about this like a Netflix subscription fee. That fee again is paid in seed, which then creates demand. And so I guess the logical question is, with all this seed being repurchased, what do we do with this seed, right? As LiveTree. So we've been collecting the seed back from the market. It's in fixed quantity. The value is going up, but now what do we do with it? So we do three things with it. The first is we redistribute it back to the top creators, the top influencers such as yourself that are gaining, and the top fans, people who are watching this video, who are sharing and building the community, which hands back ownership of the platform to them. The second thing we do is reward open source developers. And this is really important because the entire platform is built in an open source framework, which means that those algorithms that YouTube uses, those algorithms that Netflix uses, that senses data and controls the flow of information to maximize their profits, cannot be used within the platform because it is completely open and transparent, and it's completely open source, which means it's fully auditable. And so those open source developers that are extending the platform are also rewarded in seed. And the third mechanism that this is really generates the value for our initially for people to buy seed today is that we buy the seed back and we deplete it, which means we remove it, or what's called burning it, from overall circulation, which reduces the overall quantity and therefore again increases demand for the token. So that's an overview of the incentive program, and
great.
Hopefully that helps.
Definitely, yeah. Now I could finally piece everything together. Okay.
Okay. Good.
Okay. So so you mentioned there's a referral program for introducing the Adapt platform, to your viewers, right? It's more like a peer-to-peer kind of referral kind of program. So what do you entice them with? Or it's like they are gonna receive seed tokens, was it? Or just wondering.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the referral program, is all about building a community.
Okay.
So you think about this as a movement from I'm watching TV being broadcast at me to I'm participating in one or multiple communities. And those communities could be things on like Crypto Grinder, could be about crypto, they could be about science, they could be about mathematics, they could be about any topic that fosters enough of a community to drive an audience. Once you have audience participation, and you can really maybe think about this like sort of Reddit and subreddits and driving communities together that once fostered empower the creators within them to go and negotiate with the broadcasters who have infrastructure. By infrastructure, I mean they have the TV broadcasting, they have the satellites, and they have the cinema. That enables you to go to those broadcasters using the platform and say, look, we have the power of the community. Our fans want to see this on TV. So it moved a generation of being broadcast at to being a participant of, and to being really a part of the content, while disrupting the powers that are censoring our content right now and limiting what we see and what we watch.
Right. All right. Cool. All right. So this particular question is from the team. So LiveTree actually opted for a non-profit community foundation structure. So as a non-profit entity, profits will not be distributed to the founders. So this is very, very unique, right? Like I was sharing with Ashley that I've been reading through different white papers, and this is something I've never found. Could you just give us a quick idea about this? Like why so for the founders?
Yeah, so our values are about developing new stories. And we believe that, and my vision for the company is to get the stories that are not being told, that are getting blocked at the Hollywood execs, that are getting blocked from being released, to get out into the world. And those stories will be selected by the community, by the audiences that want them. And I believe it will enrich all of our lives. It will connect us together in ways that we have not seen before. So this is really important when you think about governance. So if we were to go and set up an equity-based structure, company structure, that would facilitate us effectively selling out, right? We could then go and sell out and undermine the whole principles of being a community, right? And so the value that we have as founders is all based on the token, right? So as the token increases and as we get the platform to work, as the community works, so do we. So it's all about taking the profits of the company and using that to drive the value of the token, which will help the entire community. And that's really important for us, not only to provide transparency in software, in the processes of how the platform works, but also into building a community governance system where we are transparent. The people behind the company are also transparent, and we're in the same boat as all of the people that buy seed today. And I think that's a really important part of developing the next generation of the entertainment industry.
Right.
You know.
Okay, cool. All right, so I have a few more questions left. This is I've read that LiveTree has been around for a while, so like 2 years, right? So you have different partnerships with different film directors or even companies, right? Like Screen Art Institute, Red Rock Entertainment, and a few numbers of executive producers and distribution partners. So can you just tell us a little bit experience about it, and how are they interpreting LiveTree's vision of what you want to achieve?
Yeah. So a lot, I talk to a lot of CEOs of independent production houses,
right,
who have, what's called a slate of various different content. So they might produce, they come up with some brilliant ideas. Speaking with the CEO of You and Me Productions just last week, and he was the man behind The Office. And he's developed a ton of content that the broadcasters won't take. The execs effectively won't commission his work,
right,
because they don't see it as being commercial enough.
Right.
So he's looking for an outlet for his content. And the Adept platform, and in particular Blossom, is a completely new distribution channel. It's a different way to distribute content, which is powered by the community. So it's very interesting for them to take their libraries of content and bring it into the platform. From the independent side, I speak to a lot of independents. We work with a lot of filmmakers and TV makers, content makers right now, and they are struggling to get their content out there. So from their side, they're really excited about this platform, because they can see an opportunity to structure their work in a way that's going to get them actually into the cinemas and actually onto TV, and to build enough community around them to actually empower them to take the decisions, not leaving that to these executives who are there just to really line their own pockets and limit creativity.
Cool. Okay. All right. So this is I think this is a question that I always ask founders and CEOs. So how is LiveTree planning to raise awareness, to the different creative companies, on LiveTree's capability? Like you have shared about Seed, you have shared about Blossom. So how are we gonna share with different companies in London or around the world? So what's the take on that? Yeah.
So we've been working for the last 2 years on that. We've actually built up a community of 14,000 odd suppliers.
Wow.
And we've been working within the industry for all of that time. So I think we are really ahead of the game in that area. Great. But with that said, I think, those strategic partnerships are going to develop further through our incubator programs and through developing content specifically for the Adept platform, which again really drives value for the token holders.
Cool. Okay. So which market then is LiveTree mainly targeting? Now I understand you're going to be starting in London, perhaps in California, and where else next?
Yeah, so I think Asia as well. We've been looking at Asia. And exactly.
Welcome to Asia. All right, cool.
Yeah, definitely. Singapore is would be an interesting place to kind of develop content. I think those places in China as well, where you see a lot of this censorship happening, and see a need for an outlet for documentaries, for news, for different types of content to get onto screen, to hear the stories that should connect us and unite us in a way that we've never seen before, that has the power to transform the world that we live in. And I think that, we're based in London at the moment. We have some operations out in LA and California.
Cool.
So, we would expand out, and I think natural progression would be into Asia, to really help foster that indie initially indie content, but then going through to mainstream.
Right. So, Ash, quick question. You mentioned a lot about Blossom, right? And
Yeah.
it's unique in its distribution platform. So, what exactly is its USP, like unique selling point, you know, as compared to Netflix or even Facebook? Yeah, so just tell us a bit about Blossom. I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah, sure. So,
Mm.
so let's think about Netflix. Netflix works in a subscription-based model. So you
Right.
pay every month,
Mm-hmm.
and you get some content back. So how are we going to compete with that? You know, they're a $6 billion company. They own 60% of the market share. They're a complete monopoly within the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are we going to do differently? Likewise, Facebook is a giant. You know, they've launched, you know, they're an advertising-based model similar to YouTube.
Yeah.
So what are some of the problems and what are some of the challenges with those systems? So the challenges with, if you think about Netflix, is that they're creating, you know, your personalized feed, your personalized viewing feed. That personalized viewing feed is actually curated by an algorithm that makes them money, right? It's not about helping creativity. It's about creating the same old cookie cutter, you know, The Rock in X-Men 20 or whatever it is, right? You know, the same content again and again and again.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so their model is about locking in data, and they actually take the digital rights for the, you know, for if there was this video, you would have to sell them the digital rights forever, for perpetuity. You'd never see that again, and you would never see where the content gets distributed because they want to control the market.
Right.
Likewise, Facebook, we all know what Facebook does, right? I mean, they take your data, they treat you like a product, and then they create advertising around it.
Right.
So those are some of the challenges. Those are centralized systems. So how are we going to compete with those? So first off, we decentralize. So we connect the fan directly with the content creator, meaning that, you know, we're effectively out of the game. You're creating a community together. The second part of it is we had an advertising model in YouTube. We had a subscription model in Netflix. We're going to build the world's first pre-pay-to-view model. So you get to the end of your favorite TV show, and then you get to prepay for the next episode to be made, which means that you can say, I want to decide what goes into that next episode. I want to see the story develop in this way. I want to see these stars be in the story, right? So you're prepaying for the next episode to be made, which has never been seen before. It turns the content creation process into a game, which you as a fan get to play and get to interact with. And I think that's a really exciting and completely new way to develop content, and for us to, instead of being broadcast at, to really take control and be a part of the content itself and the story themselves.
All right, that's interesting. So it's like I could decide which actor is gonna kiss which actress, kind of thing, in this particular episode, right? Wow.
Working with the creator,
Right. So it's much like a role-playing game, like a RPG kind of thing. Less the controller. Okay, that's cool. Okay.
Fantasy kind of storyline.
Nice. I would like that. Okay. Anyway, so okay. So one of the questions is, what is the next step for LiveTree? What are some of the key partnerships, and what are some of the dates to note that's really crucial if people want to participate in it?
Yeah. So we launched the sale today. So awesome. I would encourage. It's been really amazing day today.
Phenomenal.
It's been nonstop. But you know, I feel you know, the best way to participate is to really try and get in now before the pre-sale closes. You need to go to adept.livetree.com. We have some fantastic bonuses and amazing. We've got this lottery program going. So if you back 7 ETH or more, you will actually you'll be entered into a draw where you'll receive 200,000 seed.
Wow.
So you could win up to 200,000 seed.
Right.
And we've got a 50% discount on the pre-sale compared to the main sale. So it's a really great time to get in, you know, and I think you could think about this and especially with the seed token model, you can think about it similar to how Bitcoin is created in a fixed quantity, and the more demand there is for it, the higher the value of it. And then, we'll see what the likenesses with Bitcoin are now, compared to, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
But, in terms of key dates, the first, coming from a business that's revenue generating, we're very focused on delivering value into seed and being completely invested in that value. The first major milestone is in month 3. We've got 3 feature films lined up with our partners, Red Rock Entertainment. We will transact those to distributors using what's called an MG contract, a minimum guarantee contract, but essentially it's a licensing contract for those 3 titles. Right. And that will be the first usage of seed and the first buyback and depletion. So I would expect that to be the first sign where we show to the world that, this thing is here, it's making money now, it's real. And I think, having that short-term goal of 3 months will help deliver extra value at that point. The 6-month goal is really moving over our existing crowdfunding business to the adept model. And that's tying in what we discussed earlier with the digital rights and your licensing model and enabling fans to own what they watch. Right. And then the third part is in parallel is the Blossom TV, which really starts to deliver that gamification process that I'm really excited about. And entering into a different way of watching and sharing content. Right.
All right. Cool. Thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing about the direction of where LiveTree is about to go to. Okay, so viewers of Crypto Grinders, so you have seen Ashley sharing about the LiveTree Adapt model, and if you do like the program, now is the right time, because during the pre-sale ICO with bonuses and lottery system that Ashley just mentioned. All right. So Ashley, do you have anything else to add for our viewers?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you, Andy, for having me on. It's been a real pleasure. And I really love the name Crypto Grinder. I still love that name. Thank you. But, I guess, thanks to everyone for watching, joining the community, for participating. Together we can, change how entertainment works and start getting those stories out that are not being told. I was just looking at some stats within the US, 600 films. Within the UK, only 157 films made in an entire year. Right. And think about how many of those were minorities, how many of those, how many come out of Asia. It's tiny. It's time to take back that control and to start telling those stories that need to be told, that can enrich our lives and change our dynamic, and really free ourselves from the kind of censorship that we're seeing within the likes of the studios and the centralized powers. So yeah, thank you so much for having. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on Crypto Grinder, Ashley.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Right, so we come to the end of the video recording, and thank you, Ashley, once again. So have a good night rest, and all the best for all the best for pre-ICO stage, for LiveTree. All right.
Yeah, I'll be great talking to you. Yeah, and I'll just please stay in touch. It'd be great to. Yeah. Are you on Skype or something?